Well, hello, and welcome to a very special occasion where I'm joined today by Dr. Harold Burgmayer to speak about a very special album that the Pendle Singers produced back in 1999. Face to Face was a wonderful album produced by Pendle Singers, and now 25 years later, we're celebrating its anniversary. Now, I'm joined by Dr. Harold Burgmayer, who it needs no introduction to Pendle, but of course was the divisional music director here in Pendle for many years, and was the music director during this recording. So, Harold, what was the inspiration behind this album?
Several Pendle Brass and Singers albums preceded this album, but the Pendle Singers had begun to get a reputation for being a very effective, communicative choral ensemble, and the musical standard was nurtured, particularly through our 2 and 3 week long conservatories, but also a lot of kids had progressed through the select chorus, which was for sing company members' age, and then the youth chorus. So, but the main thing about this album is upon its release, one of the UK reviewers wrote how it seemed unusual for a choir to be addressing of young adults, to be addressing the afterlife as the album's theme. And yet the Pendle Brass and Singers over those years, we were grappling with the loss a number of people, of fellow members who had crossed over into campground, as the spiritual says. And the Lord ministered to our hearts. And sometimes we were very confused, full of sorrow. But through the singing of these songs from these deep places, the ministry of the Pendle Singers evolved into something quite extraordinary. And that was worthy of its own recording project.
Fantastic. And obviously this album, looking at music that reflects the story of the afterlife and this idea of meeting face to face with Jesus one day, incredibly impactful. But I wonder, can you tell us perhaps a little bit about the making of the project? Can you remember much about what it was like recording the album?
Yeah, so for almost a decade, we at Camp Lador didn't have a large meeting space, and we used to meet at all our divisional events, like youth councils and camp meetings. We would hold it at a school, a middle school next to camp. And over a long holiday weekend, we recorded this album in that school's all-purpose room. Not the best space, but it worked. And we could not have completed the face-to-face project without the expert audio help of a young Matt Parkin, Salvationist from UK, who had worked at Camp Lador for a few summers. Recording this entire album of just vocal music extended us a lot beyond singing a few supportive songs on a band concert. So the premise being that it was an all vocal album made it more accessible, communicative to the general public, and particularly with the presence of the anointed lyrics. The great song.
Of course.
Yeah.
Now, this album had a huge impact at the time, and over 25 years, it's had a continued lasting impact and quite a legacy, from what I understand. Howard, could you talk to us perhaps about what you've seen the impact of the album being?
Well, I make it, we used to chuckle because at one point we were outselling the New York Staff Band and Margaret Davis in terms of sales. And actually we did a reprint at one point, I don't know how many thousand. And in those days also included, you would run cassettes as well as CDs. But the album struck a chord with our listeners, and I think in many ways ministered to people, and some people just were playing this album every day as part of the devotions, that kind of thing. We're in the car. But then we began to get lots of requests to perform album items from the album. And one specifically, I remember a commissioning singing Midnight Cry. And I had said to the group before we went on, because I hate the big rooms, when you have a choir, you like the intimacy of being close to the people and so forth. And I said, we're going to pretend that we're in an intimate atmosphere. We're going to make this happen. And the congregation was on its feet applauding well before the conclusion of the song. It was just spellbinding. But on another occasion, I'm going to say on our tour in Norway and Sweden, they loved Deep River. And often that was met with a reverential silence. So together, the Pendle Singers were learning and experiencing the healing balm of singing, hearts touching hearts through our voices.
It's amazing. Well, again, Harold, thank you so much for this incredible album, which has had such an impact on so many. So we have a special event coming up on June 8th at Hershey Lodge, part of the commissioning weekend. We will have our next reading chorus event, our lovely poster here for it. And this event is designed for anyone to come along and sing through this album. This will be under the leadership of Dr. Howard Burgmayer, with some special friends who will be joining us, old alumni and current Pendle Singers members. And it'll be a chance to look through the music of Face to Face. Some great tracks, like already mentioned, songs like Midnight Cry, Beautiful City, How Sweet the Name, Great Great Morning, some excellent music. Now we're doing this year because it's 25 years that we're celebrating this album, but also because Face to Face and several other of the Pendle Singers and Pendle Brass albums are now live online. You can now stream Face to Face on all major streaming platforms, including iTunes, Apple Music, Spotify, and YouTube. We are so passionate about this music, which still has such a beautiful impact today. The message behind these songs does not fail. And for us, we are so excited to be able to share this with the world. So if you are available and in Pennsylvania, we'd love to see you in Hershey Lodge, 7 p.m. on Saturday, the 8th of June. We'd love to see you there. Come join us for Reading Chorus. God bless you.